guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I am down at a favorite restaurant of mine in my favorite location in Tampa, and it is Eulalie. So it is in the heart of what we'd call the city. It is located right on the water. It's a beautiful day out today. There's palm trees everywhere. There's this open green space. We've got all of the animals, all the people, and I am totally ready for a cocktail, but got to do the business part first. So the purpose of today's video is all about how to track macros or order healthy foods off a menu when you're eating out. Now, I know back in the day when I really used to struggle with my body image and my, self-worth, I really got nervous coming out to eat because I hated not being in control of the foods that I was able to eat. I really had a lot of anxiety, and I know that there are lots of you out there that still might be new to tracking, for example, or you've had a real fear of foods and almost a phobia or an avoidance of going out to social situations where there's food involved. So I want to give you guys some strategies to help with this, but I do want to issue a little bit of a warning here. So if you are somebody that has recently started their journey of healing from an eating disorder, or you're trying to move away from macro tracking and more towards an intuitive style of eating, then this video might not be you, so now would be the time to tune out. For those of you that are still interested in learning some healthy habits and how to track when you're eating out, then please stick around and grab a notepad and a pen, because I have got lots of tips for you today. So there's a couple of things that you can actually do before you even leave the house when it comes to eating out. So one of the strategies that I recommend to clients is to actually take a peek at the menu online before you go. I know that I'm a big foodie, so I usually want to know, okay, what cuisine am I in for? You know, is this Mexican? Are we going to an Italian restaurant? Is it a steakhouse? Because that will help me get better understanding of, what the caloric nature is of my foods, and probably how difficult it's going to be to track as well. And I will say, for those Italians out there, or the Italian lovers, particularly when it comes to pastas and pizzas and things of that nature, they can be a little bit tricky to track. So one of the strategies, or foods that I have tended to gravitate more towards, are foods that come from a steakhouse. So you can usually get obviously any kind of poultry, you can usually get seafood, and then I love red meat, so I normally always order steak. And I did just take a quick peek here now. I didn't get a chance to look at the menu on the way here, but I did see that they have a steak. So back to that original thought, you can take a look at the menu ahead of time, and then if you are tracking, you might like to see if they've got the calories listed, what kind of flexibility is that going to give you for the rest of the day. So if you're going out for dinner, for instance, you might like to have a look at what the food choices that you would like to eat are going to cost you from a caloric perspective, and then that will help govern what you've got left for the rest of the day, for your breakfast meal and for your lunch. So I think planning ahead can be super helpful, and then that way you're kind of not getting to the point where you go out for dinner and then you don't really have a whole lot of flexibility left to eat anything, or at least if you're trying to stay within your kind of caloric budget. I know for me, on the other hand, I've probably moved away from that style over the last couple of months, just because I'm finally in an off season. I don't want to be that rigid. I don't want to have, that distraction really, because it takes a little bit away from not only the conversation and the people that you're spending time with, but also I think because of the competitive background that I have, I don't want to have to do more tracking than I need to. So I really try to keep that as something that I do when I'm going into contest prep, and I try to be a little bit more relaxed and flexible when I'm not in prep. So something else that you can do, again, before you even get to the restaurant, is make a reservation. There is nothing worse than going to a restaurant and then finding out that you've got a 45-minute wait time. So book ahead, get yourself a reservation, and that way you can turn up, show up, you'll get served, you'll get a drink, and you're not sitting there growing in hunger and hunger. And then before you know it, you're ready to order everything off the menu because you're absolutely starving. So either order ahead or make a reservation. In that line of thought, it's never a good idea to go out super starving. I've certainly made that mistake myself, and I know in contest prep, particularly getting towards the end when I'm starting to get really kind of unsatisfied with the types of foods that I am currently eating, because they do get pretty bland towards the end of the diet. When you're on 1,200 calories, it doesn't give you a whole lot of like fun foods anymore. So I've definitely gone with the approach of like a protein sparing fast, where I'll just have mostly protein containing foods earlier in the day, and I've basically got the rest of my carbohydrates and fats to have at dinner. But it is a riskier practice, because if you don't have a lot of self-control, if you start to add alcohol, you tend to lose your better judgment, and then before you know it, you've ordered multiple drinks, you're having appetizers, you're nibbling on bread and potentially eating and trying people's desserts. So don't go out on an empty stomach. I wouldn't recommend it. I think just have, reasonable portion sizes throughout the day, and then pick something that's appropriate and in line with your macro targets once you get to the restaurant. Okay, so I've had a look through, and they have quite a few nice looking appetizers. I would really be interested in trying these alligator hush puppies. So they sound really good, but also let me provide you the description. So it's alligator with country ham, bacon, fresh corn, onion with honey and horseradish aioli, and it's a fried dish. So despite me loving the idea of this dish, because it is fried, it's probably not something that I want to choose, again, if my calories are extremely marginal. So again, looking or paying attention to the method of cooking is another approach that you could use. So we've got the best options would be grilled, anything that's baked, broiled, steamed. Those types of foods are going to typically be a little less calorically dense compared to something that might be fried or stir fried and or roasted in oils. So that would be my recommendation around the cooking process, to make sure that you're choosing an option that is most appropriate for you. Okay, so I have opted for a Diet Coke, and I think one of the things that I love the most about this is that it's calorie free, and they do refills here. So for anyone that is not from the USA, if I order one drink, it just keeps going. So I am like the world's thirstiest person, so I love this. Now, usually if I'm going out for a dinner, or even if it's a special occasion lunch, I'd probably order some kind of an alcohol beverage. But today I'm thinking about also potentially ordering some desserts. So another strategy, or at least a rule that I have for myself, but again, I'm a little bit flexible, it depends on the occasion, I will either choose one or the other. So I'm either going to have some drinks tonight, or I'll choose the dessert. And again, it usually depends upon what's on that menu. So if I go and have a look here on their menu, the things that I think stand out the most to me are this Canadian bacon maple ice cream, and it's got cornflake crust with a cream caramel waffle crisp. So that sounds pretty delicious. And then they also have a chocolate tart, but it is served with a raspberry port wine reduction. Now, I don't know what it is for me about dessert, but I don't want any fruit. I'm so anti-fruit. If I want dessert, it's got to be like cream, caramel, chocolate, like flourless. I don't know what it is, but if someone offered me like a fruit flan or, I don't know, fruit salad, I'd be like, no, thank you. I much prefer to use those calories elsewhere. So even though they look delicious, I think I'm just going to hold off today, and that's because I also know that I'm probably going to be going out for dinner later today, and I might choose to have some alcoholic beverages later. So I'm going to stick to the Diet Coke, and that's going to keep my calorie count down a little bit lower than it would if I was choosing dessert or wine. So something that I've done in the past is order an appetizer and then like a side salad or a side of veggies, and that is only when I'm getting down to the bare bones. Obviously your appetizers are going to be slightly smaller portion sizes, Usually they'll be served with some kind of, side dish. It's usually a salad or some kind of veggies. So you could always opt for a smaller portion by going with an appetizer. And if you are still looking to get a good amount of protein, then you could also ask for double that protein source. So in the case of like an ahi tuna, which I see they have on their menu here, I could ask them, what's the serving size of tuna? Typically in an appetizer, it's probably about 6 ounces or 60 grams for those of you in Australia. So I would just say, do you mind if I have double? Happy to pay extra, and then that way I know I've still got a good amount of protein in, but I haven't, been so wasteful with too many calories. So that's one option. But I'm not going to do that today. I have just had a look. They've got some really delicious burgers here. They've got a eulalie burger, which has got, oh my goodness, ground short rib brisket, and it's topped with a house steak, portobello mushrooms, fire roasted red peppers, and a brioche bun. And that just sounds delicious. But I'm sure I'm going to find something else on here that sounds really good too. They have a lobster roll. So this is poached, which is interesting, tossed with a mango citrus aioli and a garlic butter, served with a diced fine ripened tomato leaf lettuce on a soft bun. So because it's poached, that actually would probably be a pretty good reduced calorie option. Usually when they serve lobster in a bun or a sandwich, it's fried or tempura battered. So I would potentially consider this. In fact, I might choose it, but only if they can serve it without the garlic butter. So I have an allergy to garlic and onion. Anyone with IBS knows my feels, so that's the only downside about that particular option. They've got grouper here on the menu, and it is, you get a choice of either grilled, blackened or fried. So in that case, if you're a fan of fish, I would opt for the grilled version. And that would be a pretty low fat, at least protein source, because it's a white fish. What else have we got? They've got a pork dish, which is going to be extremely fatty, and that's served with some duck. So that would possibly be one of the more fatty cuts of meat or protein serves on this menu. And it's also served with, thick cut fries and seasonal veggies. So yeah, I'm probably not going to go there. Sirloin, 8 ounce, wet aged, minimum 21 days with an avocado chimichurri. It's served with garlic, mashed potatoes and seasonal veggies. So if it didn't have garlic mash, I would order that. So I think I'm going to go with that. So sirloin is a really lean cut of red meat. It's 8 ounces. I don't necessarily need that big of a portion size, but I've also had a very small breakfast, and then I've just recently trained. So if I get a 60-gram portion of protein in this one sitting, I'm not really upset about it, because by the time I get to dinner, if I didn't have all of that, I'd probably be getting behind on my protein. So I'm probably going to eat it all, but we'll see how I'm feeling. If I get full, I might not eat it all. I will take it home. So I'm going to go with the top sirloin. I'll probably ask for them to cook it dry. And that way there's no extra butter or risk of having it covered in garlic and onion powder. And then I'll see what they can do about these mashed garlic potatoes, if there's like an alternative. So we'll wait until the lady comes over and we'll see what we can do. I think I'd like to get the top sirloin. However, I have an allergy to garlic and onion, and I noticed that it's served with garlic mashed potatoes. So what would you recommend that I put on the side instead of that?
I would say we've got a ruby wild rice that's really good. We've got green beans as well. I'll have to double check that they're not made with any onions or garlic.
Okay. And what about the seasonal veggies? Are they like sauteed in any kind of seasonings or anything? Or?
I'll have to double check with the culture.
Okay. Awesome. And then I'll have that medium rare.
All right.
And I guess I'll wait until you come back.
No problem. I'll be right back.
Thank you.
No problem.
So it really sucks that I have IBS, because it's really limited the amount of foods that I can choose off a menu, and I've gotten to the point now where it's just not worth the discomfort of trying something that has garlic and onion. So I value my quality of life and my happiness, and it has made such a big difference by being pretty anal about it. And I know immediately if, there's accidentally been something put in my meal that has it, because within probably a matter of hours, I am so much pain. So if you are somebody that has experienced similar types of responses after eating out, it could potentially be one of the FODMAPs that are causing you trouble. Not necessarily the alcohol, not that it's too fatty or that it's spicy, but rather some of those ingredients that contain FODMAPs. So garlic and onion are two of the biggest culprits. I know that when people order out and they order veggies, they often opt for something like asparagus. Asparagus is too a FODMAP. So I'm now unfortunately down to like broccoli and roasted red peppers and tomatoes. Those are all perfectly fine. But it's really sucked the joy out of going out for dinner. But it is what it is. So one of the other things that I was talking about before was how to order on the side. So cheeses, if your dish has a cheese or a cheese sauce, pop that on the side as well. It's so much easier to get a good look at it, and then you can make an estimate about how much you're actually eating. Now, I have also notoriously been somebody that eats extremely quickly. So I don't know whether this was something that happened when I was... Oh, 1 second, our lady is back. Yes.
All right, so we can do that spinach without garlic. We can also do the green beans without garlic or onion.
Yep.
And for the steak, since it is made with garlic and onion, we could make it with just salt only.
Yeah, salt and just butter? Yeah, that sounds amazing.
Sounds
Perfect.
good.
Thank you. Okay, cool. So they're doing a garlic and onion free. Woo-woo. And it's a pretty safe dish. It's mostly veggies. There's not going to be any extra fats and oils except for the tiny little bit that they're probably going to use on the stir-fried veg. So I'll be able to see pretty clearly how much fat I'm eating. So I'll give you guys the macro totals at the end once I've seen what they look like. So I almost just forgot what I was talking about. This is ADHD. It's amazing. So one of the things that I think I got a habit of doing when I was young was eating really quickly. And I think it's because we were always rushing to be somewhere to go. And it just kind of carried and stuck with me through, I guess, my adulthood. And of course, the busier you get as an adult, the more responsibilities you have. I know for me, like, I'm just constantly on the go. I've really had to make a concerted effort to practice sitting down and eating slowly, even when I'm just at home by myself, because sometimes I would find myself or catch myself just standing and eating like while I'm doing something else, and that's not really a good practice to get into because you're not really present and you're not listening to your body's appetite cues or hunger cues. So if you are eating out with somebody else, and let's say they are a slow eater, try to match the speed that they are eating. So that's going to help you be a little bit more mindful. You can take your time, you can focus on the company, you can focus on the conversation, and it's not just about the food. And I know for me, that's how it always used to be. It was basically just food focus, everything's about what I'm looking at, what I'm ordering, and over time, I think I have certainly learned to kind of, it's part of this, this occasion, but it's not the focus. The focus should be the company that you are with, the conversations that you are having. And I think when I kind of started to focus a little bit more on that, I definitely felt a sense of ease and far less anxiety when I started to actually be present and kind of engaging in those conversations. Something else that I've practiced doing a lot more when I'm eating out is, again, in addition to kind of matching the speed of the people that are around me, is putting my knife and fork down between every bite. So that way I kind of sit back, I listen, and it's giving my body time to actually process that food and then give me the correct signals. So that way I actually start to feel whether that meal is filling me up or not. And I will try to make sure that I eat just before I get to the point of, I'm starting to feel full. Previously, because I would eat so quickly, I didn't even give my body a chance to register fullness, and then before you know it, I'm absolutely bloated, miserable, and uncomfortable. So combine that with not paying attention to anybody, you know, in the conversations, totally fixated on the food. You know, before you know it, the meal's come and gone, and you know, you weren't present in that conversation, and you're feeling absolutely gross. So slowing down, you know, taking your time between bites or mouthfuls can also help, I guess, not only be better and more engaged with your friends, but, you know, moderate how many calories you're taking in. The deliciousness has been served. Now, I do want to backtrack. I could have ordered the veggies just steamed, and something that I've done before is like a lemon juice and then just like salt and pepper. So I'm obviously not tracking macros at the moment, and I have a lot more flexibility. I'm trying to be mindful, so I'm going to go ahead and eat my meal and, you know, listen to my hunger cues, and if I get through it all, great. But as far as like weighing out, obviously I don't have my food scale. Now, if I was in contest prep, I'd probably be a little bit more particular, and I would have my little mini food scale probably sitting underneath like my side plate just here. And then I would pop it on, take it off, and eat it. Now, that's for a competitor. If you're not competing, I don't think that that is necessary. That would probably be, in my opinion, completely inappropriate. It depends how serious you are about this goal. If it's just for health purposes, then I wouldn't recommend doing that. I think it's a little bit unnecessary. But ultimately, but looking at this meal, it is quite buttery, so it's kind of sitting in a pretty heavy layer of butter. So I am going to be putting in probably like 20 mils, maybe 30 mils of butter, and it's probably the real stuff too. It's not going to be my light, I can't believe it's not butter at home. So yeah, I'm going to track that. It's probably pretty high in fat, but it's going to be very low in carbohydrate because it's just veggies, and then also very rich in protein because it is a sirloin. So I'll pop up in Carbon Diet Coach the macros that I'm estimating based on what you can see here. And yeah, so lucky last, before I dig in, I think it's really important to try to avoid becoming over-focused with your food and how it can impact your body, because remember, you are more than a body. So try to keep sight, I guess, of what's really important in life, guys. So your family, your friends, our health, and I guess having those meaningful relationships and connections when you come out for dinner. So if you constantly fixate on your physical appearance and compare yourselves to, you know, your social media influencers, you will probably live a very unsatisfied life. So if you're like me, try to switch off from some of that every now and then, and, you know, be present, engage, and enjoy a good meal. So until next time, I hope that this was helpful. If you have any questions about eating out or anything else, feel free to leave me a comment, and I will see you next time. And I'm going to enjoy this steak.